Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We've bellied back up to the bar. Oh, where'd you go, Maiden? You're like there, but your screen's very dark. Did I lose you? Oh, well, our guest is fixing some video stuff here. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let me see if I can, I can see you, but you're very dark right now. Can you hear me, Maiden? You're muted. Let's unmute you. You'll have to unmute on your side. I can't unmute you. Can you hear me, Maiden? Oh, well, we'll get this all fair. We switched cameras so she would have a beautiful picture, and it was great. And now we're having technical difficulties, but we'll get it all situated here real soon. But we've bellied back up to the bar. We'll go ahead and do our house cleaning while our guest gets her camera all situated and gets it all figured out here. Might have to go back to the old camera. It's not a big deal. But we've bellied up to the bar today on this. I think it might be the last Wednesday in May as I'm thinking about it. Yeah, last Wednesday here in May. We've bellied back up to the bar, and there's our guest looking wonderful. There she is. And we've joining us from somewhere out in Mountain Central Time. I forgot to even ask her what area she was.
In Canada, Alberta, Canada.
Oh, Alberta. Canada. See, I'm not really good.
Canada. Yes.
You don't hear me sing "Oh Canada," but joining us all the way out in that area, we're going to be talking about how can you make a meaningful impact on the world, which I think is absolutely a phenomenal topic. So joining us, and I'm going to butcher the rest of her name. Her first name, I think, is wonderful. Okay. I love this. Miss Maiden Manzanal-Frank.
It's good. It's good.
How did I do it? Did I do okay with Manzanal?
Yeah.
It's got a very Italian. It's a little Italian twang to it.
It's Spanish. It's Manzanal. Manzanal.
Manzanal. See, if he's Manzanal, it would be more Italian that way. We would switch it up.
Yeah.
So, but she's going to be joining us again. We're talking about how can you make an impact on the world? How can things that you find value, things that you think are important, how you can make an impact on those things. But before we get too far into all that, let's go ahead and get some house cleaning done, as we always need to do around here. As always, folks, over my right shoulder is the big board for Sticker and a Cause. If you got something you believe in, something you want to support, and you want other people to know about it, reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all those different places. Our website is the Above the Bar Podcast, AboveTheBarPodcast.com. Our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out. Let me know what you got going on. We'll make sure that other people know about it. I'll tell you where to send your sticker to. We'll get you on the big board. That's how it works here, folks, for Sticker and a Cause. The next thing that we're going to talk about, as always, folks, is we got to be talking about our sponsors, which is Budget Blinds of East Green, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie. They are our sponsors. Oh, our guest's having a little bit of technical issues again here. Device not connected, it says. As always, if you're looking for window treatments, whether it be shades, shutters, blinds, drapes, you name it, we'll tell you all about it. That way everyone can know what you got going on here. That's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie. I'm not sure what's going on. Not sure what's going on with our guest here. So hopefully our guest will jump back on here. I'm not sure what happened. Miss Maiden, are you there? If your camera's going to give you trouble, all right. So your camera's giving you a little bit of trouble. That's all right. As long as everyone can hear you, we'll figure out some way to work on it. But we've already got some comments already popping up. Great company. Call Budget Blinds and get a quote today. That's what I'm talking about, George. Tell them, get it all situated. And if you're looking for a podcast that's way more handsome than this one is, you got to check out my boys at Outlaw Blitz. And they do like way cooler stuff than I do. So you can check out what George has got going on. And I love the sombrero hat that you're wearing. So let's get into it. So, Miss Maiden, you wrote a book. Oh, we lost her again. Where'd you go, Miss Maiden? Let's try this one more time. She might be having some technical Miss Maiden, if you keep having technical difficulty, I'm gonna tell you, grab your we lost her again. So it looks like Maiden, if you can hear me before it drops real quick, you might want to grab your cell phone.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
I'll switch to the old one.
Switch to the old one. We'll stay with the old one. All good. So you wrote the book, literally wrote the book on it, on being a provocator, not a we're going to get this word out today. Philanthropist. Turning good intentions into global impact. So tell me a little bit about, and I forgot to tell you before, if you see me looking to my left, it's not that I'm ignoring anything. That's where all my notes are on my other screen.
Okay. So, okay. Good to know.
I forgot to mention that to you. Notes. So let's get into it. You're a international leadership speaker, author, consultant on strategy and change. I love let's see here. Help me out here. You're I don't even know how to pronounce any of these words. Help me out. Chai canoeing. How do I say this?
Bichai. It's a bichai.
Okay.
Bichai. It's Thai. It's bichai ratakul.
Okay. Keep going.
Ratakul. Scholar on peace and conflict resolution.
So what is a bichai canoeing ratakul?
Scholar in peace and conflict resolution. Yes.
So what is that?
Well, it's a Rotary Peace Scholarship Program. As one of the recipients of this prestigious scholarship program that's been offered every year by the Rotary International and Rotary Peace Center. So
and for everybody to know, that's the Rotary Club.
You have to, yes, under the Rotary Club, but you have to be a non-Rotary to apply for this. So every year you have to compete with 500 applicants for this very prestigious award. And you only get 25 out of the 500 plus applicants. So this is a very prestigious and honorable award for global impact leaders like me.
And you've coached other Rotary Peace Fellows from 25 different countries.
Yes.
You've been in. Now, did you have to go to Thailand for this degree?
Yes. We have to do the in-house residential learning sessions for 3 months, including 1 international field trip and 1 national field trip to study conflict and conflict dynamics.
That's amazing. And then you got me beat. I've traveled to a lot of countries. I feel like I'm pretty well traveled, but you got me beat at 30 countries, doing social entrepreneurship work, 15 developing societies, 18 years with experience in lesson learning you are truly a world traveled person. I mean, there's no other way to put it than you are a very globally world traveled person. I'm going to ask this first question, which is, did you always plan to be that person? Like, hey, I need to get out and get around, or was it like it kind of fell in your lap and you just weren't scared to do it?
No, it's been my lifelong dream to be an international impact leader. It's been embedded in my heart ever since. I want to travel, I want to see the world, but I want to help too. So there are very few careers who can do that, right? You want to be a big support, be a positive influence, and you want to travel around the world while doing that. So it's either UN, international organizations, humanitarian and social development organizations, those are the top 3. And I clinched them all.
I love it. And you do it with a smile on your face. That's what I like the most. For those of you that aren't watching this live and you're looking at the recording, make sure you go back and you check out what Maiden Manzanal-Frank has. You can find her on LinkedIn to see what she has, but she's also offering a newsletter called Be a Provocator.substack.com. You can log into that. You can get her newsletter. You can find out what she's got going on. You can find out about how you can be an impactful person in the same way. It's going to have information on how you can reach out to her, how you can contact her, and get more involved yourself. So I want to kind of roll it back, though. what made you feel like, hey, I need to be the kind of person that's working with others on this international stage, and why not be? And I'm gonna make it two parts. Why not be a philanthropist? I mean, gosh, I mean, we think about the world like the Carnegies and the Rockefellers.
Yes.
Once they had, now we would say the Gates and all these people that, they've made huge, impactful things in the world based on their philanthropic. You didn't even think I could say that word, philanthropic uh, endeavors. So, what made you feel like
Yes.
you needed to be part of it, and then why not be a philanthropist if you can get to that financial stage?
Yes. So two things. One is I wrote the book because of all the learnings and experiences that I had for more than 2 decades in social development, and that means a lot of failures, a lot of mistakes, a lot of misadventures, blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of disillusionment, and I would say just discouragement. After all, if you've seen in the field, and that's not what that's a lot of things are not working. As an idealistic person coming in my 20s, I felt like I can change the world, and then I get saddled by a lot of bureaucracies, red tape, nepotism, corruption, waste, a lot of waste in the field. Young people coming in very vibrant, very energetic, and then coming out really like bruised and battered with everything that had happened to them in their careers. And I'm one of them. I consider myself one of those who had been in the forefront of change and trying my way into to communities, small communities, big communities, working with farmers, with marginalized people, with artisans, social entrepreneurs, really bringing that impact down into the ground. And I've been one of those. And I felt that during my time, there wasn't a book, there wasn't something like to guide you, to make you, to encourage you to keep, doing what you're doing, despite and in spite of obstacles and difficulties. There's nothing like that. And I have informal mentors, yes, and I am very grateful for them. But there was nothing there. And the kind of leadership development they had back then was very rudimentary. It's either you swim, you survive, or you don't. Either you
There
swim or not,
wasn't a
right? So
playbook.
you
There
have to
wasn't a
swim your
playbook like
way.
this.
There's nothing a playbook like that. And now in this stage of my life where I have all these lessons learned, it's distilled in insights. It's something that's practical and usable for any young change makers out there in the world. They're trying their way to figure out, who they are, what they can build, what kind of legacies they want to leave behind right now when they're still in the, in the stage of their life. They're still, fresh and vibrant and, fully committed to the cause, fully committed with their passions and the energy and creativity. So that's the place where this book is coming from. The second is, why not philanthropism? It's good.
Yeah.
But to me, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with philanthropism, but the younger generation now look at it like it's sort of the ideal way. You get, you build your wealth and then you become a philanthropist. But then
Okay.
again, you go back to the field, and there are many, many problems in the field, and money won't be able to solve those problems. You're just throwing money left and right, millions of money left and right, and there's nothing. It's not going to change everything. So you have to go deeper. You have to look at the foundations. You have to look at people's cultures and mindset and how a development project can absolutely create ways in which the people will have a change understanding of who they are and what their agencies are in the context of their challenges. So you're not coming in as a patron, as a donor, as a know-it-all, as someone who can fix their problems. You're more provocateur. You're
Okay.
unsettling the status quo. You're addressing challenges. You're creating opportunities for them to think critically about themselves and about their situation and be able to empower them through their own understanding of themselves, empower them through the things that you can, in terms of partnership, in terms of development, in terms of providing them insight, supports, and tools. So that's what I think the provocateur is a way better, a more informed and empowered model to look at in terms of leadership with changes on the ground, with communities on the ground, especially in the developing countries. Philanthropism, the traditional ones, it's aging, it's dying, it's obsolete, it's irrelevant. What we need right now is a different kind of philanthropism. And I would say it's more a provocative philanthropism than the traditional ones.
So I mean, it almost comes off more activist, an activist kind of a mindset, more of that ground level coming in. Don't let your head get too far into the clouds. Come back and see where the rain's landing. That
Yeah.
kind of a mindset. Does that make sense?
It is activism, but it's also being more pragmatic. It's not ideologically bent, but it's more on what actually works on the ground in terms
Okay.
of psyche, culture, mindset, and behavioral opportunities for change. Because Sean, we hear this a lot. Some rich people would build schools, clinics,
Yes.
hospitals, you name it. It's the build philanthropy because it's present. It's you can see it. It's
Right.
you have this building, you have this stage, you have this school, you have this everything that it's palpable in your eye. You can see the
Right.
difference. You can see that it's been there, right? But what's important is the people, the leadership skills, the capacities, the understanding, the perspective of these people that you're trying to work with. You need to work that too. It's easy to build a school. It's harder
Find the
to
teachers.
understand the cultural and yeah, the educational pieces in terms of teacher education, providing the right curriculum, and of course improving the psyche, the national psyche of the people, especially the young generation, because they're taking up the leadership role in the next 5 to 10 years in the country. So obviously it's not just the physical infrastructure, but more about culture, understanding, and perspectives of the people that you're trying to work with. And culture is very, very important because a lot of them come from a very, I would say, scarcity mentality, that there's nothing there for them. There's nothing. They don't have money. They don't have anything. I was in a conference with a Rotary Club in Sierra Leone a couple of years ago during the pandemic, and they told me, you're talking about things as if everything is perfectly here, that we have internet, we have good roads, we have good markets, we have. And I said, well, I came from a third world too. I came from the Philippines, where we have almost like you guys. We don't have a lot, but then again, you look at, just count your blessing. You got resources, you got your family, you have your clan, you have your community, you have your contacts internationally, you got technology. Don't say that you don't have technology, and you have the know-how. You are intelligent, you're all brilliant, and you have expertise, you have skills. Just imagine, you have almost everything. It's just that you're not in a developed country, but you almost have everything like any other developed a person in the developed country. So why do you think that way? So basically, it's scarcity mentality. A lot of these people feel that they don't have the agency, they don't have the voice, they don't have the means. So there's more of a dependency status. We want the donors to give us the money and that's it. That will solve the problem. No, it's not
It's all
that way.
you
So
kind of
we're
remind
trying
me.
to.
You remind me of Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. He talks about poor is a mindset. So
It
what you're
is a
talking about,
very, it's a
you know,
very, yeah.
poor is a mindset. It's like I'm reading a book called this one I love. It's called "Lies My Teacher Told Me," about American history, and really gets into the textbook. But again, it gets into this mindset of we called Native Americans savages because they didn't have culture. They weren't cultured. But then you read what Webster defines as culture, and they had all those things. It's
They
just
have culture too.
we defined it a different way. So what you're saying, and if I'm hearing it right, it's great to have that philanthropist that can throw money at it, but they throw money at it so that they can say, well, I did my part. I put money there. What you did with it, that's not my fault. Is that what you're really saying?
Yeah. So there is the psychological aspect to giving, right? You feel good about it. You feel like,
Right.
you're really you're making a change. But the other aspect of that when it hit on the ground, that your money, whatever that is that you put into, whether it's a well, it's a school, what happened to that in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years? When in the on the ground you have corruption, you got a lot of selfish people trying to get the money out of the communities. You got communities that are totally ungrateful and doesn't understand where this resource is coming from, and they have no care.
They,
It's some money
because
coming in, and they just take it. Yeah, it's a dependency mentality. It's a dependency relationship on the ground, and that's what we've been very much aware of in the last few decades of work. Whether it's an international, a governmental aid, or it's an NGO philanthropic kind of aid that is pouring in communities.
So you just brought up a very interesting question. I don't normally get into politics, but I'm going to have to ask you a very interesting question. Look, folks, for those of you that are out there watching us live right now, if you have questions for Maiden, maybe you've seen something in your own community or you've made donations somewhere and you saw how this happened, or on the other side of it, you took it from the grassroots point and you saw an impact and you made something happen. Please make your comments, ask your questions. If you want to know what Maiden's got going on, it's be a provocateur. Provocateur. P.
Sure.
I'm trying to get the reading is my third language. Be a provocateur.substack.com. Let me know what you guys got going on. Ask the question. She's also offered up to everyone, and I'm gonna drop it here in a second. In the where'd I put it at? In the is her social media link, and it's also a update. She's offering her book right now to everybody if you wanted to get a copy of it. And if you put, make sure I got this right, and Maiden, you can fix me if I say it wrong. It is
Mm-hmm.
Provo 20, right? Is that the right link?
Prove
They put
20. Prove 20 is the coupon code.
Prov 20. You can get a copy of the book. Oh, this
It's an
is
ebook
my buddy
discount.
Scott. Oh, hi. I used to be a provocateur. Okay, bye. Scott, you're a turd. I miss you, bro. You and I need to talk. Um, but what you kind of bring up when you're talking about the waste and abuse and all these different things. I'm curious from your standpoint and if you see me stand up, my chair, the air in it has broken and it keeps sinking on me and it's driving me absolutely bonkers. But when you heard about things like here in the States, because I know you're up in Canada, but you heard about here in the States, uh, aid being questioned, like, hey, why are we giving money here? Why is this going there? When you heard that, as somebody who's in that world, who understands that world, were you ever like,
Absolutely.
oh my gosh, I can't believe they're not giving the $63 million or whatever the number was to, what was it? Or it was 140 million for Sesame Street in Iraq or Iran or whatever it was. I can't believe they're not doing it. Or did you look at it from your standpoint of like, okay, someone's actually paying attention to, is it going where it's needed? Like, how did you approach that as someone in that world?
Yes, I've been asked about that, and I think I'm going to answer it in a very nuanced way. I've been in the field and I've seen stuff happen, and they are, to the average outsider, it will be like horrendous. It will be so it will be so shocking. But to me, somebody that had been there, done that, have seen it, I would say that it's really happening. It is a reality. And I would say that it's high time. It's high time we face the elephant in the room. And if you look at all these projects, I would say that 60% of these projects are totally BS. 40% are
Really?
really good for humanitarian. Absolutely. I'm
That
100%
high?
sure. Like, for
That,
example, LGBT education in, for example, in an Islamic country. Are you in
yeah,
a
that makes no
fantasy
sense.
world? It has no sense whatsoever.
Thank
It
you.
has no sense whatsoever. It's millions and millions of dollars that should have gone to feeding the hungry, clothing the poor, and doing all these social enterprises livelihoods for those who are really into it. So I would say yes. Yes, it's happening right now, and I'm happy it's happening. And I'm sorry, some people's livelihoods will be affected. It's part of life. You just have to move on. And I think they have to, they show the ticket. If it's really good, show the tickets, show the receipt. That's for me is my, it's my opinion on this.
I look, I love your answer to it because it's the reality of it is I think a lot of people, it's a snow job. Like, look, I would love to. What's the gosh? I can't sell you a bridge in Brooklyn. I got this great bridge in Brooklyn. I'd like to sell you. There's no bridge in Brooklyn you're selling me, but I would love to. It's just it's a farce. It's not a real thing. So
Yeah.
out of your book and look, folks, again, provocateur, not philanthropist. Grab your copy. There's a link there. Get you a 20% discount on the ebook, so you can read about it. But what would you say? And how many? Say I should write better notes. How many total principles do you provide in here for how to make this happen?
There are actually 10 principles in the book because it's divided in a way that I've put 10 themes of global impact development from my standpoint. So those are the 10 themes. And around those 10 themes, 10 principles, I gave them some practical solutions that they can do right away. So this is not some sort of like philosophical Magna Carta of something. This is a practical, pragmatic book you can use right away. You read chapter 1 or you read chapter 10, doesn't matter. You can use right away the ideas, the innovations, the perspectives that are in there. And use it in a small way. It doesn't have to be like a big, magnanimous kind of gesture, or like try to go to that different country and do something really big. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be. You can do something in your community, becoming an impact person, and just looking at efficiency, effectiveness, integrity, walking with those you want to serve, and being ethical and being truthful about it, and being
That was,
humble enough to say that you don't have all the answers as a partner. So that's important.
and it's funny you said it because that was going to be one of my next questions. Is do I have to use? Is this all based on like because I'm in upstate New York? Can I use it in upstate New York, or is it just built like, oh no, you're going to have to go to Sierra Leone if you plan on using the principles in this, so I can use it in my own local community perfectly fine.
Yes, you can use it in local community, working with your local nonprofits, because it looks at management, it looks at efficiency, effectiveness, impact, the use of stories, and nurturing your communities. And this could be like a very small step. But hey, this is legacy building. It's a long game. So think about that in perspective. Life is short. What can you do now? Don't wait when your kids are older, when the mortgages has been paid, or when you have a lot of time. Do something now and be happy with it. Be happy with your contribution that you're doing. I think it speaks to every one of us. We're just trying hard to make this world a better place. So once we leave, we know we're in good place. We know that we've done something.
Now I'm going to ask. Now trying to think of how I'm going to phrase this question because this is something that I find very interesting and was in a book that I read. So, who do you think makes more impact? Is it and I know they get beat up about this, and we mentioned Bill and Linda Gates and the Gates Foundation. Do people
Mhm.
understand that foundations like the Gates Foundation make more impact, whether you like what they do and all the BS, like, oh, they're gathering DNA because they're gonna stop. Do people you think understand the impact they have over a Mother Teresa? Like do people understand that like what the Bill and Linda Gates type of people in the world really actually make way more impact than the feel good stories of the Mother Teresas? Do you think they understand that?
Absolutely. There are three paradigms that I've written in the book. Of course, you've read the book, right? It's called the first one is the bureaucrats, the philosophers, and the entrepreneurs. The bureaucrats, they control numbers, they're into systems, processes, harmonization, convergences, whatever it is. Yeah. The second would be the philosophers. These are Mother Teresa's. They're coming from a faith background, a value, and ideology. They stick with their guns and they do the work. And you see that superstar humanitarian, that's Mother Teresa. And the third is entrepreneurs. That's what I call Melinda and Bill Gates. They're
Right.
entrepreneurs. They use their entrepreneurial knowledge and business expertise and acumen to solve some of the biggest problems in the world. There are three areas here. They're all good. They're all good. But the question is, you don't. It's not for everybody. You can't be Mother Teresa. We can't be all Mother Teresa. It takes a lot of sacrifice, personal ones, and she's done it, and that's her calling. Fine, but it's not for everybody. Bill and Melinda Gates. Is it for everybody? No. You have to have a certain. You have to be in the billionaire class to be able to have that enough clout and leverage to talk to and negotiate with governments. Their budget and the Melinda Bill Gates Foundation are higher than most of the countries in the world.
It's a lot of
Their
GDP.
budgets alone, their program budgets alone, it's crazy to just to think about that.
So
Now,
why do we get so much
will
hate though?
we everyday people could be like them? No, not not a millimeter close to what they're doing. Yes, they're doing great impact, but you have to make sure that they're doing well. So
But
our
why do
commitment, our duty as a citizen is to be able to know, like, you're doing good on this, you're doing not doing good on this. Let's have a conversation. Always have a conversation around what we can improve.
it's just interesting because I know the impact that their foundations have on the world, but yet they
Yeah,
get so much hate for doing so much good, and I don't
that's
understand.
part of being that's part of doing something good. If you're good and excellent, they'll throw stones at you. Doesn't matter who you are. They're
Yeah,
even more so when you're up there.
yeah.
Even
Jesus
more
taught us
so when
that.
you're up there. Yeah,
Jesus taught us that.
Jesus was crucified, man. Sean, Jesus was crucified. So
Yeah, he did some pretty good work, and they stuck him on. It, there's a whole thing about
yeah,
they killed
yeah.
all their
If you're
prophets.
excellent, be careful. If you're
Yeah,
excellent, like you and I, we're trying to be excellent, trying to do our best for what we wanted to do in our life. Expect that.
expect there's someone with a stone just for you.
Oh yeah,
So
just for you, just for you.
they
Anything
wrote
you
your name
do.
on it. Oh, so I mean, and I love your book. I love the fact that at the end of, like, you have reflective questions using, like, so I just flipped to a page here. I was looking for some of the questions.
Yes.
Reflective questions using the Global Impact Leadership Framework. How did you develop some of
Yeah.
these questions? Did you develop all this on your own? Was this as a team? How did all this come together?
Well, writing the book is just it's a solo career, and it's a solitary job. And I think it's painful, and it's lonely. It's a lonely process. And I've done it all. I've created the book, the theme, the first the outline, and then the thematic areas, and then doing research for each theme, and then developing the questions, because I don't want to be like people just reading it and then throwing it away, right? We want
Right.
people to read it, imbibe it, converse with it, negotiate with its input and contents, and do something about it. What they have learned, like for example, avoiding blame game. Looking at opportunities in the in between fields, looking at innovation in underappreciated areas. Those are little things that you can really, yeah, makes sense in what you do on a daily life, right? Daily basis.
So what it was so now that you've got this book out, and it's been out for how long now?
For I think almost 3 years now, in 2022, when it was launched.
What's some of the feedback that you're getting? Because, like we just said, people want to throw stones. Have you had any stones thrown at you since putting this book out?
Not yet. I actually was hoping for that, but it hasn't come yet. Maybe because I'm not
Really?
yet in the radar screen. I'm under the radar screen, and could be totally, I'll just be like a silent movie type in terms of in terms of the radar screen. But I'm not getting of those. Actually, one of the biggest feedback that I got so far was that it's about community, and I think it echoed a lot in terms of my book, that you can only do so much with yourself. You have to really build the community. And I call that in my chapter. There's one chapter in the book about nurturing your defenders, because I did an analysis of all these communities, from being just a small community, a random one, to they're more loyal. We call them fans,
Right.
acolytes. But I thought that at the end of, of the real genuine partnership with them is they become your defenders. So when you're not around anymore, they're still in there. They're still defending. They're still championing the cause, whatever that is, and they're still in the pursuit of that goal, whatever that overall goal that you have for that community. And I think that that to me speaks well in terms of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build a community that will outlast me. It's not a personality based community where once you're done, you're out. Then they're out, right? A lot of celebrity based communities are like that. The hero worship the leader, and then when the leader falls, and they fail
Everybody
from grace
spreads.
most of the time. Yeah, and then you get discouraged, you get shocked, and how come? Well, they're fallible as every one of us. They're just
So
humans like us. So
I'm
there's no
looking at
need to
your.
hero worship a leader. Yeah.
Hold on. Now, because that's the ninth principle for those of you that don't know it. The find and nurture your community is the ninth principle. Um, I have to say though, I just happened to flip to this page, and I don't know why it grabbed my eye. I consider myself a reluctant social media user and digital citizen for many years. That's an interesting because that's how we get the word out nowadays, and how we push things.
Yeah.
And I see you on social, especially on LinkedIn, and you say that in here that you have very strict rules for Facebook and LinkedIn and digital business communications. Uh, but isn't that today when we think the first thing that comes to mind when I think about that one in particular is Egypt and Facebook and the revolution over there.
Yes.
Isn't that today how we get those communications, how we push those type of things? Isn't that the local I butcher your words. Yeah. Oh,
The
isn't that how
medium, the channel,
provocateur. Am I saying it right? Provocateur.
provocateur.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how the. But
provocateur.
isn't that how the local provocateur wants to get the word out and spread it? They have to be strong in social media to build that community. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I was reflecting that when I was in my 20s, in the early 2000, when everybody was into Facebook initially, and everybody was like, "Are you friend? Well, let's be friends and friends of friends." And I was like, "No, I don't have any friends. I don't want to be friends in Facebook." And I loved the idea of friendship over social media because it was so fake. They're not really your friends.
No.
Absolutely not your friend at all. So just so because I'm coming from a place that it's not really my thing. But then now looking back at it, everything is about the medium. Everything is like, social media is the message. It is the message. It's no longer a conduit to the message. It is the message. Podcast is replacing traditional media anytime. That's how powerful podcasting is. And we
Well, we
have
need to
that
make sure
right
everyone knows
now.
about this one. We have to have this one
Yeah.
needs to be the most powerful one. I
Yes.
mean, the only thing that
It is
matters.
a powerful channel right now. And that's why I'm
It
all
will.
of these podcasts.
That's
We're
what I'm
not
talking
on
about.
TV. We're not in radio. No. It's a bygone era. It
It
has
really is.
outlasted it. It
What about
has,
when you're in some of these?
outlived its own use.
But that brings up a kind of an interesting question. What about when you're in some of these communities, like you were mentioning, being in the where you were in a third world country, and they were like, "Oh, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this." Are they are they wired in, or are they still using what we would consider legacy communication methods, or are they pretty wired in and they just don't want to admit to the fact that it's there?
They're pretty wired in, absolutely wired in. One of the biggest texters in the world are Filipinos and Asians, and in the Middle East as well. They are the biggest texters in the world. They're text capital of the world. Come on, don't don't believe that BS. What they're telling me right there is that they just don't have the scarcity mentality. It's just that they
Yeah,
have,
that's
absolutely, they have almost everything that we enjoy in the first world, in the developed country.
that's so
Absolutely. And they have the
interesting.
brains. They're not
Oh yeah.
they're just discounting their assets.
Well, I knew
I
people that
don't
would go to
believe
the
that.
Philippines, and like the Philippines had huge amounts of internet cafes. They were everywhere in the Philippines. A friend of mine was telling me,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous. Because I mean, being in the Marine Corps, you look, and I'm gonna ask this question. You can
Travel
give me a dirty look afterwards. How many people in your family are somehow either married to a Marine or a sailor?
was a lot,
A
especially
lot.
in the Pampanga area. Yeah, a lot. A lot of people are biracial.
Right. So there's a huge connection between the Philippines and the
Oh
States.
yes.
It's monstrous. So
Oh,
I would think that especially over there, that they would be like, yeah, we're pretty wired in because we have to be, or somebody's already sent us,
yeah.
the information so that we can get wired in. And again, folks, if you're just joining us and you're listening in and you want to get on to Maiden's mailing list for her newsletter, it's be a provocateur.substack.com. She's got that. She's also offering up a 20% discount on her ebook. It's Provo 20. We dropped the link into all of our different social media areas: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. So make sure you're checking out those things over there. Forgot to look over, see what's going on Instagram. Uh, so make sure you're dropping a book. And if you have questions, maybe you've got a community situation where you're looking like, hey, how do I get this started? And you're those of you that are joining and watching us and you want to ask those questions, drop that question into the chat here. But so before we get into, steps that are coming up or things that are starting to happen, for you, what
Mhm.
was the first time that you said, hey, this is a program or this is something in my community that I'm going to get involved? What was the first one for you?
The first one for me was in terms of looking back. It's really leadership. Right now, I couldn't. Before that, when I was in my 20s, I can't figure out what was going on. I was so discouraged, frustrated, disappointed. I kept changing jobs after 1 year, 2 years. Just changing jobs. Still in the development field, still with the nonprofit, but changing jobs. And I realized there was a pattern to it. Why am I kept getting these kinds of bosses, these kinds of programs, these kinds of things that and I hit a wall at one point, and I said, should I just move to corporate and have a change of career, or stick with this, and where will this go? Where will I land? What would be my future? Well, as a young person back then, you just have to think about your future, right? Everybody's thinking about their future, and so obsessed with it at some point that I said, okay,
Oh yeah.
where is this going? And looking back, I think one of the biggest theme at the time in my career was leadership development. There was nothing. There's no mentoring program. There was no apprenticeship. There was no training. You just gotta swim hard enough so that you survive. And people like then back then, if I hear, they would say, you better be grateful you have a job. Number one. Number two, they would say, um, just take it all. It's part of the training. Going up, you have to kiss ass or you do something like that, which I've abhorred. I hated that part. And the third was that um, they're showing you what you don't want to what you don't want to be. They're showing
Right.
you the kinds of practices that are that are internal and informal, and like the sort of the culture part of the workplace. They're showing you right away. So you sort of like, you either leave, like if you don't want it, just leave, just quit. That's the
Right.
third thing they
It's
would
your
tell
problem,
you.
not
So
ours.
those three things, like, really, yes, it's your problem. There's something wrong with you. Either you have an
It must
attitude
be you.
issue, performance issue, or you just don't fit in. Culture, doesn't work with you in here. So all those three. And I find that no, it's not about us. It's not about us young people. We're here to serve. So
And,
the
and
whole system is flawed. The whole system of how do you build intergenerational leadership if that's the case, and everybody will be out of here in a second, right? So
I,
it was systemic. It was a systemic issue. And now in my life, I have pinpointed it's leadership development. It's all about leadership at the end of the day. At the end of the day, a nonprofit can survive without a lot of resources, without a lot of volunteers, but you need to have a vision, you need to have good management practices, and you need to have good leaders. Without all of these three, they'll be done. They'll be toast.
You just reminded me of something, and we're going to get into it here in a second. But it's that last call, folks, and it's that New Scotland last call. So we've only got a little bit left here with Maiden. So make sure you're dropping your questions. As always, discover the spirits of the Highlands right here in New York at New Scotland Spirits. We're more than just whiskey makers. We're storytellers, distillers of heritage, and champions of locally grown grain. Every bottle is handcrafted, bold, and unapologetically New York. Whether you're sipping, gifting, or stocking your bar, make it something memorable. Choose New Scotland Spirits. Visit newscotlandspirits.com and taste the tradition. New Scotland Spirits, distilled with pride, enjoyed with purpose. Just like Maiden. Distilled with pride, enjoyed with purpose, just like Maiden
Yes.
is. Now, what's interesting to me that I wanted to kind of touch base with when you're talking about
Yeah.
that leadership, and you mentioned non-for-profit, this was something that I had to get taught. And I think some people, why good leadership shies away from non-for-profits, because they don't know this. I had a friend of mine, he went from being a CFO with a Fox TV affiliate in Philly, good money,
Mm.
and tells me,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to work for a non-for-profit. I'm like, bro, like, you've got a lifestyle. I know you. And he said to me, don't believe non-for-profit don't mean you don't make money. I think some young people have to understand, or even senior leadership don't understand, that just because it's a non-for-profit doesn't mean that they can't pay you and you can bring those skills. And I know that may sound like very like, hey, money, 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 pay me.
No, no,
But I
it's
think
not.
that's
Yeah.
where some non-for-profits lose. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. It's the same thing. Scarcity mentality. We don't have money, we're just still a thing. We're doing God's work. So, please, we have these begging bowls. Please, please, please help us. I think it's such a BS. It's an old school. It's a bygone era. We need to
How do you
really
change that mindset, though?
sort of jettison that. We want to have nonprofits that are rich, nonprofits that are thriving, nonprofits that are wealthy and able to sustain their work. That's what we want. We don't want this poor look, poor me kind of nonprofit. They're really pathetic. Even at this time, I have a conversation a couple of weeks ago with a nonprofit. It's it's on child abuse, child exploitation. So it's a great cause, and they have a conference coming up. And I asked to be a speaker, and they said, no, we actually, we can't provide a professional fee for the speakers because we're actually losing every time we have conference. And I said, why are you losing? Because we're not charging. Why are you not charging for the value they're providing in the whole region? Why? So I did a
That's
lecture thing, and lecture him, and it's just so shocking. Until this time, the mentality was that we can't make money because we're nonprofit. No, you have to make money to be able to be the best nonprofit in your community. That's where it is. Well, that's what it's gonna be, and we need to
so.
establish that from the beginning. Careers in the nonprofit must be compelling, must be attractive, and must attract the best talent in the world.
And they got to be competitive pay.
Not discourage them, not just tell them go away. You're not.
I think they, but and I've got two sides to this. And one I'm going to tell you is I actually belong to the world's largest charitable organization, donates well over $1 million a day. And if y'all didn't know this, that's Masonic Charities. Masonic Charities are the largest in the world. And you can say anything you want, all you little whack jobs with your conspiracy theories, but Shriners hospitals are all Masonic, if you didn't know that. So get over yourself. But one of the things they do is if you donate $20 to a Masonic charity, they never spend your
Yeah,
$20. They invest your $20 and spend the
there you
interest
go.
off of that $20 forever, which I think a lot of these non-for-profits miss.
That's good.
But that's the other
Yeah,
side to it. If some of these non-for-profits that are out there, and again, folks, if you have questions for Maiden, drop them in right now. I see some folks just joined us. We're talking about being a meaningful impact on the world. Maybe you have an organization you want to get known about. But if some of these started actually opening the books and started saying, like, hey, we do have, and this is an arbitrary number, folks, $1 billion to use around the world, and people knew what their bucks looked like the Red Cross and people like that, that gets a lot of donations. Do you think that they would suffer backlash of, well, why are you holding on to this money? It should be everywhere. You guys should be walking around in sackcloth. Why are you not giving that money to everyone? Like, do you think they would face that backlash? Like, I think it's real. What are your thoughts?
I think, well, absolutely, they will face a backlash, but what are the goals of that? Because if you wanted to reinvest the money for the longer, for longer period of time, wherein you make the organization sustainable, then you sort of outlive the investment. Like that's the promise of financial sustainability, and that's what it is all about. So some people will say, oh, we need to look at the books, we need to see all these monies that it has to go to. For example, 90% should go to the impact work and 10% to admin. Like, wait, hey, I actually argue that in the book. 10% doesn't mean a thing,
Right.
because you're really building the organization. Building the organization takes resources. You need to create talent. You need to build talent, nurture talent. You need to create systems. You need to create management systems that are fit for purpose, and that requires resources. So 10% is nothing. 10% is just salaries, and that's nothing. You can't survive with that. You can't grow the nonprofit organization with 10%. So I would say enough of that. Let's look at it from the perspective of what the organization is trying to achieve. Let's look at goals. Let's look at results. Let's not count these little cents. Let's stop doing that and focus on results and accountability with the money. And I think that's it. Bottom line, that's it.
I love that mindset because I mean I would be the first to tell you I'm definitely guilty of seeing some of the stuff that's out there and being like, well, why does that CEO of
You don't
this
know.
group make
You don't
300?
know. Yeah.
And I don't know it, but I mean, hearing your
Yeah.
viewpoint is very different. Like, hey, look, if you want the best people to run these organizations, like I couldn't
Yes.
imagine a Jamie Dimon running a non for. Could you imagine if Jamie Dimon ran a non for profit? And for those you don't know, that's like he's the biggest banker in the United States. When Jamie Dimon says a stock sucks, it crashes. If he told you right now the pair of shoes you have on would be the greatest pair of shoes ever made, uh, tomorrow you
Yeah.
could sell them for $1 million. But could you imagine a guy like that
Wow.
running a non for profit?
Wow. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean he would change the world. So as we're getting close here, we got a couple minutes left. What type of
Yeah.
you got any speaking engagements coming up? Anywhere where people can find you outside of your LinkedIn stuff?
Yes, well, my website is www.maidenmfrank.com. That's where my repository of some of my history and incredible work in speaking, consulting, and coaching and mentoring. And right now, I have aside from the book discount, I will be running a coaching program in two streams. One is for change management for executives or purpose-driven organizations, and the other one is personal strategy coaching for those in transition. So I meet a lot of people, change makers, who are transitioning, changing to different careers, in between jobs, looking for independent work, doing freelance, doing solopreneurship or business or social enterprises, you name it, across the board in terms of changes and transitions. So I'm happy to support them through my coaching program coming up this June, and it'll be a cohort program. So you're part of a group. There's peer-to-peer mentoring and coaching, and more intense, focused conversations on what you can do next. So after 90 days, you should be able to have a pathway, a plan of action for whatever you want to do in terms of that change and transition that you're going through. So those are my two coaching streams right now that I'm offering.
How about if somebody wanted to book you? What could they do?
They'll just email me. My emails are in my website. You can book me for a keynote speaking, a leadership retreat, executive education programs, a school, university classes and lectures, seminars, facilitation for your board. So yeah, I do a lot of things. So
So
hopefully that's
they can easily
something.
find you. And then we have the newsletter. And what kind of stuff can they find on?
Newsletter, that's where very open and updated. They can have it for free. Yeah, it's free to subscribe. There's a pay component, but the rest are free. So
What kind of stuff can they find in the newsletter?
the newsletter has all the announcements, some of the opportunities that I've collated, sort of like collated through all my sources. There's offerings, my own offerings, and my projects and my activities and my guestings and all of that stuff. There's also the pieces, the articles. These are blog articles that I write every month, 2-3 times a month on strategy, change, leadership, purpose-driven lifestyle, and perspective, strategic perspective.
Any charity you want to promote right now that you would like to see some more people get involved in?
Yes, one part of my book is featuring Miracle of Health. They're doing a lot of great stuff in Sierra Leone. Risa Gold is the executive director, and if you can support them with a donation, that'll be lovely. They're building a hospital right now, and I've chronicled their journey in my book in terms of how a small clinic was transformed into a hospital through the help of thousands of Americans and international partners, helping with Miracle of Health succeed. So Miracle of Health, that's the organization.
And check that out, folks. Miracle of Health. Just a quick, you give me a one, like a couple of phrases. Why do you think Sierra Leone just is one of those places that just constantly has the struggles? They just can't get off the struggle bus.
Number one is conflict ridden, very fragile state, um, conflict ridden for decades. Number two, highest level of maternity mortality rate. Number three, corruption and mismanagement of government resources. And number four, international actors not doing their act together, not doing well,
Uh,
not being effective.
well,
So
look,
those are
folks,
the four factors that I think really
and
created the mess right now.
they got them all running. Well, look, folks, if you're finding me through Maiden or Maiden through me, make sure you're giving this a like, share, follow. It may sound cliche, whatever platform you're checking it out on, it really does make a difference. That's how her message gets out. That's how everybody else's message on here gets out. Take the time, like, share, and follow. Make sure you're joining us every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. Uh, not Twitter. Yeah, not Twitter anymore because that's X. I always want to say Twitter, but Twitch, Instagram, you name it. We're on all of them. Next week, um, you know what? I'm going to try to for next week's story to next week's guest for us to stay on topic, but it's a chief warrant officer from the Marine Corps. His name is Zerain Bennett. He's a former chief warrant officer. He's a speaker, author, spent over 22 years in the Marine Corps, running leadership programs, management, emergency services, first safety, aviation operations. Him and I probably ran across each other at some point. He's also a
Mm,
lifetime
yeah.
martial artist. He's built a career rooted in discipline, resilience, and empowerment. He's authored 7 published books, including a positively acclaimed Positive Self-Defense for Seniors, and he's a TED Talk speaker. So we're going to be talking to him about delivering transformative insight for passion and clarity, uh, talking about his story, how he helps to motivate people, how he gets that energy out there. That's next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you're joining us for that one. Now, Maiden, I know you've binged all
Yes.
270 some episodes. You're fully immersed in the Above the Bar podcast culture. You've got it all soaked in. But just in case you've forgotten anything, I'll remind you of what's coming up. Do not log off on me. I need from every guest, you always get the final word. So, what is our final word for tonight?
Word. Well,
Whatever.
my
You could be a
final
word,
word.
it could be a statement, whatever you want it to be. You get the final thought for tonight.
Well, my final word is be a provocateur, not a philanthropist. Take your leadership journey into serving others for you and for the next generation, and keep on doing the good work that you're doing. Nobody's counting your mistakes, your errors, your faults. So just cheer up and enjoy your work.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.